Good morning, Miami Dolphin fans. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you for joining Dolphins Thirsty today. I'm Rob Mosley, aka Dolphins Thirsty. So I would love to hear what you guys think of the moves. First, I just decided to start off with running it back. These are the guys that we brought back. We got Eric Lamb in there. We got Raheem Moser. We got Jeff Wilson, Miles Gaskin, Duke Riley, River Craycraft, and Nick Needham. Do any of those names surprise you that we're bringing them all back? I'm I like all the players, so I was kind of surprised on Gaskin, Miles Gaskin coming back. Maybe a little bit surprised on Nick Needham. I like Nick Needham a lot, but I thought he might get a little more demand on the open market. But maybe the injury derailed those plans. But for as far as running it back at the running back spot, I'm okay with. I know a lot of guys want the big sexy names out there. Go get Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook, or hopefully draft someone. But we'll see. There's a lot of time left. I know we have to concentrate on the right tackle and left guard before anything else in my book. So for right now, I'm okay with running it back at running back. And as far as the new additions, there you go. If I left someone out, my apologies. Started off there with the big trade. That's why I call it new additions and not free agency, because Ramsey came via trade with the Rams. Then we picked up Mike White, Deshaun Elliott, Jake Belly, the punter, Braxton Berrios, Eric Schaubert. Sorry if I messed up his name. Then David Long. Feeney is the offensive lineman down there in the corner. And then our latest move was Malik Reed, who had some good seasons with the Broncos under the coaching of none other than the Dolphins defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. Hey, good morning. Thank you. Yeah, we're back. Thank you, Ender. We missed you too. Don't worry. We still got you in our plans. I will get with Justin and digging in the trenches to try to get you never to be forgotten. So, all you guys, welcome. And I am back flying solo today. So, ever since I've been flying solo, I don't keep the shows quite as long, but we still have fun talking about the Dolphins. So, Ender, I don't know what you think about some of the moves or some of the people we brought back. Let's see, Richard, yes, love to get a right tackle, but like the other pickups. Yes, that's how I'm moving along, Richard. Like I say, overall, and like I say, there's time, and more money becomes available after June 1st. Other teams may cut players June 1st. I know we may not get the top of the line right tackle that people want to bring in, but at least bring in someone that can be a starter and make Austin Jackson beat him out. And Austin Jackson might be okay. Maybe that's the plan, because he didn't really say. He said they like Austin Jackson and Eichenberg, but he didn't say they're guaranteed starters. So there is hope that they still got room, that they're going to make some moves like that. I know the names are coming off the free agency board now and all the tackles and stuff. So I know Dolphin fans are panicking a little bit, but the season doesn't start yet. We still got months to worry. We got the draft. We got others, like I say, other cuts, people that get cut for salary cap reasons. That would still be a better improvement on the Dolphins than maybe their current team sees them as a fit. So you never know. I mean, last year, don't forget, we got like Melvin Ingram. He came, like in May, I think we signed Melvin, late, or maybe even June. I know it was late in the period of signing players, and he came in and, his first month, he was defensive player of the month. I know he tailed off a little bit because we started getting, once we got Chubb on the team and stuff, he didn't get as much playing time, but he was he came in with last minute signing, basically in football terms, last minute signing, and he contributed to the team. So there is still hope that Dolphins can make some moves. Hey, thank you, Steve. Like I say, it's different running solo, but thank you. I know we've talked a couple of times about all the moves, Steve, so I know more or less where you stand. I know you want that offensive alignment, but that's what Richard and I and Ender all agree on. And it will be interesting to see over the next few weeks. So if anything you guys see happen today while I'm blabbing away, let me know, and so we can get all updated together. But as of right now, yes, the Dolphins have not really added unless you count, Feeney, but I know a lot of people don't count Feeney. We haven't added much talent to the offensive line. I mean, I think Feeney can come in and be kind of fulfill Dieter's role the past few years, be able to play center if needed, be able to play guard if needed, but, might not get much action. I don't know. But like I say, I'm not sitting there saying I've watched the Jets offensive line. I'm just reading what their fans saying. Oh, you didn't get much there, no loss, and but of course that's just Jet fans talking smack too. I'm sure Steve has probably seen his PFF grades and will tell me, yeah, he's not that great. I think Steve may have told me that, but he's good. He basically fulfills, I would say, Dieter's role. He's going to come in and be able to play center or guard if one of those guys goes down and he needs to fill in during the game. He will at least be able to have that dual responsibility. That's how I look at him. But yes, I'm not counting on him to making our line dynamic and beating out anyone that we currently have on the roster. So that's for a starting job, that is. I think he will earn a spot on the team. And the Reed was kind of, that's one of those late pickups. He didn't have a great year last year in Pittsburgh, but under Fangio, he was, really good. Yes, I agree. That's what I think. That's where his strength would be. He's going to, like Dieter, hardly, I don't think Dieter got a snap last year, but he was there on the active roster just in case, and he was ready to either play guard or center. So I think he's going to kind of just fill that spot. And like Malik Reed, I think we've hammered all the others. We didn't really talk about Jake Bailey, Steve. So there's only so much to say. I was hoping to get about a punter. Sorry, punters. Unless you're Reggie Roby in Dolphins history, it's kind of hard for me to get excited about a punter. But I miss Morstead, but he was just here the 1 year. It is what it is. He's bounced around a lot. Punters seem to bounce around a lot. And, hopefully Jake Bailey had a really good year in 2020. And then he's kind of not. And last year he was like mysteriously suspended. And I don't know why. No one really knows why. It just says he had a suspension at the end of the year that seemed to be a team enforced suspension. And so I don't know if that ever came out why he was suspended. And for Burials, I like him. Braxton Burials, I like him because I think he'd be able to be, he can be good in the slot if given the time. I know we got a lot of receivers, but I think he will add value to the punt return, which we have not heard. Let's see. Richard says, I heard that Dallas wished they didn't trade Cedric Wilson to us, so I bet Dallas, let's see, sorry. And Miami come to an agreement come draft day. Miami gets, I was thinking that too, but now they just traded for that other receiver, and his name, Brandon Cooks, I think they just traded for. Richard Dallas did, and so maybe they're going to be out because they gave up a couple picks to get him. So I don't know if they're going to be in the market anymore. That's what I was hoping, that they would want him back and even just get a 7th round pick. I would have been happy just to unload the contract. But Nick Daniel has talked about having bigger plans this coming season for Cedric Wilson. I don't know if that's his talk to try to drive up his price or whatever, but they were saying that, they know they have to get him more involved. And if they don't bring back Trent Sherfield, then maybe that is a sign that they will try to get him more involved. And yes, I do like the Braxton Burials. I like that pickup. I think Steve even called it before. He would have said, I would like to see them once the Jets released Burrows. Steve is like, I wouldn't mind the Dolphins putting in a flyer on him. And a few days later, boom, free agency comes. Miami Dolphins put a flyer in on him, and, now he would be on the team. And as far as Mike White, let's just hope that he doesn't play one snap this year. But I know with Tua's history, there's a good chance he will play this year. But, if we get down to the backup, most of the time you're screwed in the NFL. There are plenty of examples. The Eagles went on a few years ago to win the Super Bowl, once Wentz got hurt. So there are some examples, and the Dolphins scored way back in the 70s, had a quarterback lead them, keeping them undefeated until Greasy came back. So there are chances. But let's just hope we don't even get to see Mike White play. Happy he's here. He's a local kid. But let's just hope the season doesn't come down to us depending on Mike White. That's my biggest thing when it comes to backup quarterbacks. Okay to have them there. Let's just hope you never have to use them at any time during the season. Oh, yes. Thank you, Steve. What would I do without you, Steve? Please, guys, hit the like and subscribe button for us here on Dolphin Thursday. Like I say, we are new and growing. And I say we still because I used to have a partner all the time, but his hours have changed and stuff happens, and he's no longer on the show. But, I will try to get more regular hours and maybe go to a slot that's a little more active. But I like this because I get all my regulars like Ender, Richard, and Steve, and G-Man comes in here a lot. He's not here yet. And then I get, of course, Anthony. So you guys all make my time, having great time coming here and talking Miami Dolphins football. So yes, Steve, thank you for reminding me. Like and subscribe as we grow here all together with Dolphins Thirsty. There you go. So anyway, yeah, overall, I like where the Dolphins have done. I know they just kind of like last off season, the big news broke, and then it was kind of anthem because last year it's just like, oh my God, we got Tyreek Hill, and then everything was kind of downhill after that. Nothing exciting. This year it broke the day before free agency window open where we could negotiate. The news of the Jalen Ramsey trade broke, and that was our that was our big peak. And then everything since then's been like, oh, okay, yeah, So I think we kind of get all pumped up because we get this great move, and we think it's going to be an off season of nothing but great moves and big names, and then they taper off a little bit. I mean, last year we did get, like I said, we got the big offensive lineman Armstead and Tyreek Hill in one off season, but those are rare days in the NFL to bring in two big stars like that. And speaking of Armstead, hopefully he's healthy, or this season could be in trouble again. So I'm hoping he stays. He's another guy that we need to stay healthy. I mean, we can basically assume he's going to miss a few games, but hopefully when it comes down to the stretch and the playoff run, he plays a lot this year. So anyway, that's it. That's really basically it. I don't know what you guys are surprised if anyone. I mean, as far as new additions, I don't think anyone else jumps out. I do like Deshaun Elliott. The more I'm going to be honest, I hadn't really heard too much about him linked to the Dolphins. So I hadn't read about anything about him before the start of free agency. But from what I read, he's okay. And then it's another one of those guys that they say when healthy, he's a really good player. So I know some people may be upset because his contract's basically the same as the Eagles guy that just left the Eagles, went and signed with the Lions, and some people think he's better, the Gardner guy or whatever. But, I think it's a good move. If he comes in there, he's a good fit for the Dolphins defense. Let's just keep him healthy. Let's keep him on the field. I also like the David Long move. Another guy with a little bit of a disclaimer of health. But when he's healthy, he's really good. He's a good fit in the Fangio defense. I had read up on him because a lot of the people that covered the Dolphins that I respect had him as a target name. So I had read up to him, and he is really good in coverage. But not just that, he rates high in the run stuff rate. So he's really good. As you can see up there, he was one of the leaders last year in stopping the run. His reputation is definitely in coverage, but he can get the job done really well. So he's an all-around linebacker that should be out there every down and definitely be an improvement to our linebacking core. So I do like that move as well. Let's see. Let me go back one more time to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone. Oh, like I said, I don't really know much about the tight end, to tell you the truth, but I read up, and he seems like I think he could be a pretty good fit for the Dolphins. He's a little bit better blocker. He's not an elite blocker from what they say, but he's better. I'm not going to pick on the guy that's no longer here, but he blocks better than the guy that we used to have that loves to block people on Twitter. I always wish him well, but not too much well because he's on our division rival, but wish him personally well, but for his team to suck. That's what I root for next year with the former tight end that left us. Let's see who we have in comments here. Yes, I agree with you, Steve. 100%. David Long is our best linebacker right now, for sure, without a doubt. He comes in. And hopefully Jerome Baker steps up. His contract now is guaranteed, so the only way you're going to basically get rid of that contract is if you trade him. Last Friday, his contract became guaranteed for next year if he was still on the roster. And lo and behold, he is still on the roster. So cutting him at this point, you're not going to get any benefit. But if you trade him, you can get the money off the cap other than like $1 million dead money or something like that from what I was reading. So he's not going to get cut. And like I said, Cedric Wilson, he's not going to get cut. So unless you trade Cedric Wilson, he's going to be on the team because he's another get no cap benefit if you cut him. I'm not one of these capologists. There's many more guys that you could go follow that really follow the cap and crunch the numbers and look at those sites. But from what I gather from what they're saying, those are a couple players that there is no benefit from cutting. So you're going to basically have Jerome Baker on the team, and you're going to basically have Cedric Wilson on the team unless a team works out a trade. And he's a hitter. I watched him on YouTube, and a long hitter. Look like we're going to getting guys that hit and cover well. So yes, I agree, and that was probably when I was talking about Deshaun Elliott, and I agree. That's what he's known. He's not really a guy that plays the ball, but he will separate a receiver from the ball. He would go up there and lay the wood and get it done that way. So that's what I heard. And Steve says he likes Eric Saubert. I'm probably really screwing up his name. I know it's Saubert, I think, off the top of my head when I was looking it up. And like he's a good. That's what he's solid. I don't know. He might be in the Smite range of blocking, maybe a little better than Smite blocking from what I hear, but about in that category. So at least he's a little more versatile. Just because you have him on the field doesn't mean, oh, it's going to be a pass. You know, like teams last year knew, I would say his name. When Gesicki was on the field, teams basically knew we were going to be throwing the ball because he's not in there to run block for sure. So, you know, that this guy can at least give you that added dimension like, it's not sending off red flags that we're about to throw the ball because he comes into the game. So that is a good thing. I do like that aspect. And like I said, I know in the draft, we could draft a tight end also. There's some good names out there. It's a good year for the draft class. So you should be able to get a good one, even if you just stand pat at 51. But from our experience, tight ends is one of the positions that doesn't come in right away and contribute. So I don't know if they're going to want to try to find. I don't know if they're going to want to, come in and try to find a tight end again, another veteran, or work with a rookie, or find a position that you can plug and play from a rookie. Like a running back, you can plug and play, but we're pretty set at running back unless we go get a big name. And okay, good, Steve. I like to hear that. I think he's a better than. Yes, I hope so. So that's good. So then he's our best blocking back from day one. So that's good. So I do believe all these moves have set us up to basically be BPA, which is a draft slang for best player available. I think we will be able to, go BPA in the draft. Now, if we don't touch the right tackle position, maybe we're going to have to lean offensive line with that first pick, and it's not the strongest tackle class, but sometimes you get kind of stuck. That's why I was hoping we do a little bit more so we're not stuck reaching for a tackle, because that's what happened, when we drafted Eichenberg as an offensive lineman. It's like we saw a move on offensive lineman, and then we traded up to get him, gave up future draft pick to get him. And that's what happens when you panic, desperately needing a position. We desperately needed a position in 2020, so we draft Austin Jackson. And, so sometimes it stinks to just get a player of need. It's better to get that BPA, even if you're strong at a certain position, because it's more reliable. So I agree. Well, good morning, Sean. Good morning, and welcome to Dolphins Thirsty. So, yes, those are all the moves. And now I really do believe I have talked about everything. Feeney, Malik Lee, David Long, Sherman. Yes, I've talked about Aaron Burrows, and like I said, the punter we already covered, but it's a punter. Let's just hope he doesn't have to punt too much this year. That'd be a good thing for the Miami Dolphins. And yes, it stinks. I always hate, and it's just like so weird. So many players are just changing in the AFC East. Like, we got a couple of the Jets down here. Then we lose our tight end up to the Patriots, but then we get their punter. It's just like we're all switching homes within the division, and they all know each other well. So it's kind of weird how that fell this year, that we just like, it makes sense though, because they're probably more familiar with people in your division because you see them twice a year. They watch a lot of film on them already, so they have a little more heads up on what these players can do. So it makes sense at the end of the day, but it's just funny that a few of the people stayed within the division. Thank you, Sean. And yes, good morning. Anyway, guys, like I said, this is going to be a shorter show. I've already gone 20. I was thinking of maybe going 20 minutes. And I'm looking for a partner, guys. If any of you ever want to be a partner and join up on the show, you're welcome. And we can do other time slots. We can do anything, basically, because I'm recently retired and have a little more flexibility than I normally do. So, we can work together. And Steve is on the Fins Talk Sports Network, a good show called Real Talk Fins Talk. And yes, a full disclaimer, I'm his co-host, but is on the Fins Talk Sports Network every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Fins Talk Sports Network on YouTube. So make sure you go give that a look and a subscribe if you guys haven't done so already. Steve he's fair-minded. He's not a basher of people, but he's not going to kiss their butt if their butt doesn't deserve to be kissed. But it's all good, clean fun. No, he understands that every Dolphin fan has a different opinion, but we're all still Dolphin fans wanting the one goal for the Dolphins to finally win some games. And that would be awesome to win a playoff game. Let's just take baby steps. I won't even say the SB word that's trademarked. I won't even say that. Let's just get into a playoff game and win a playoff games. You're welcome, Steve. And it's no thanks needed because you do have a great show and you're a good friend. And it's fun knowing you the past year. We just met not that long ago, but Steve and I already are good Dolphin buddies. We talk Dolphins. If we hear news, we break it to each other. So it's good. Because I might be an out and about. He might be an out and about. But if something happens in Dolphin land, one of us knows about it. And that is always good to have, because you can't always just be on Twitter when you're out and about, but you can look at your text from your buddy real quick and makes it easier. So that is good stuff. Let's see. And the other teams, like I say, I know some teams, oh my God, we can't let the other team does this and we can't let them do that. But listen, teams are going, the Packers are going to trade Rodgers eventually to the Jets. And it's just more or less coming to terms with who breaks first, who has the better hand in the poker match that breaks down, and either the Packers take less or the Jets just finally give up and give more than they want to give. But, it's going to happen at some point. And, I can't worry about it. It's yes. Does it stink that the Jets are going to be good? Because right when you're thinking, we're catching up a little bit to the Buffalo Bills, and the Jets go and jump in the mix to be considered one of the best teams in the AFC. And then if New England, they're quietly building a pretty good team too. So the AFC East is going to be no joke. So, if the Dolphins are improved, it's not going to be a cakewalk in the division by any means whatsoever. It's going to be brutal. Every division game is going to be almost like a must win, because that's like 2 losses. If you lose a tie-breaking game and you lose the game. So it's really tough to lose. I would love to see Dolphins and Jets in week 1. That'd be fun to me. That would be the matchup I would want. Get Aaron Rodgers in his first game as a Jet. Maybe they'd be a little shaky, or whoever knows. But I would just like to see that first game, Miami Dolphins versus. I'm tired of the Miami New England game to start the season, as we've had the past couple years. Hey, G-Man, welcome to the house, G-Man. Mr. Kenny McIntosh's biggest fan is in the house. Good morning to you. So we were just talking, G-Man, about some of the free agencies pickup. If there's anything you want to touch in, give them your thumbs up, your thumbs down on some of the names. First, I went with the ones that we're running it back with. We got Eric Lamb. Some people say he played well, but he only had a few snaps, and then he got hurt, then he was out hurt. It's just like the thing with the Miami Dolphins. And then Raheem Mostert, another guy that got hurt, but I was not surprised to see him back, and I was not surprised to see Jeff Wilson back, especially since the Dolphins gave up a 5th-round pick for Wilson just last year. I figured they wouldn't want to let him walk so soon, so they got a deal worked out with him. Myles Gaskin is probably the biggest surprise in the running back room that they brought back that I was, kind of surprised on. And Savon Ahmed was already brought. I don't have him on here because that was before free agency, so he was never even out there for other teams to sign, so I don't have him on there. But we're also running back with Ahmed. So the whole running back room from last year is back. That does not mean and prevent us from going out and making another move and bringing back in a running back via trade or via draft. But for right now, we're running it back in the running back room 100%. And Duke Riley, that move didn't really surprise me because all teams need players like him. He can play, when he's called upon, but he's also a really good special teamer. And, like I said, versatile linebacker. He can cover. He can stop the run really okay too. But his big thing is, if nothing else, he's versatile, depth peach, and a good special teams contributor. So I wasn't really that surprised with him. River Craycraft, I don't know where he falls in my surprise. I guess I kind of expected it, but also I wasn't sure because I knew Sherfield, and then once they brought on Barrios, I was saying, I don't know. I know Barrios can do the returns and stuff, and Craycraft wasn't really a returner, so maybe that's somehow they can both make the team and see. And Nick Needham, I talked on him for a minute. Like I said, I was a little surprised that he didn't get more love in the market, but he is coming off an injury, so that may have scared some teams away. I was thinking he may get a contract that the Dolphins couldn't match, but I'm happy to have him back if he's healthy. So I'm okay with that move. And let me go into comments real quick before I move on. Don't understand the Miles. Let's see. Don't understand the Miles Gadget signing. Kenny Mack as a rookie would be way better than. I agree, G-Man, but it doesn't prevent us from still drafting a running back. So, but I guess they want that running back on the roster right now, and maybe Gaskin to be the odd man out if in a competition with someone. I agree. I know this is funny, Richard. He is. Rodgers on the same path as Brett Favre is. Went to the Jets, sucked, and then to Minnesota and sucked. Well, he had one really good year with Minnesota, but I know he screwed up in the playoff game. I remember Brett Favre having run a really good year with the Vikings, but yeah, he messed up the playoff game that year. And I agree, G-Man and Steve Gaskin may not make the team. Let's just see what we do. Like I said, there's a lot of time left between now and the start of the season. We still got draft. We still got other moves we can make for basically any position on the field. So that is very true. And as far as I know, just for the people that just came in, and then we got these guys. Like I said, we got Ramsey, we got Pat Wright, we got Deshaun Elliott, Pat White. See, that's going back. Mike White. And please don't be Pat White. And then Jake Bailey. And then, of course, the receiver we've talked about a few times today. Braxton Berrios, Eric Sobert, the tight end, David Long, Marie Lee, and Dan Feeney. So I like all those moves. Of course, the big one, as I mentioned, G-Man, was that it's broke the day before free agency period. That was our big climatic moment of the offseason. So it's been fun so far this offseason, and we still got the draft. Yeah, he did. The good thing about the Dolphins beat Brett Favre. It was a winner-take-all for the division, the last game of the season up there, and the Dolphins beat the Brett Favre Jets, and so that was a good feeling. So I was happy that then. Of course, I know. I agree. We talked about that too, G-Man, already. The offensive line. It seems like it's been the offensive line for I don't know how many years we've been talking about the offensive line needing help with the Miami Dolphins. And it's just not with Chris Greer. It was when Jeff Ireland was running the team. It was Tannenbaum running the team. It was everyone, man, all the guys' names that we've had running the team. And I don't know. I'm dumbfounded on how they can't get offensive linemen when all these other teams are bringing in offensive linemen, plug and play, and they're decent. I don't know if it's coaching or scouting poorly. I tend to think it's more coaching, and then we just get rid of a coach every single year, so there's no consistency. But it's like the enigma, it's one of those great enigmas in history. We know Dolphins offensive line is going to be one of those that is always a mystifying. It's crazy. It is crazy. It's going to be like as mystery as DB Cooper. Whatever happened to him? So whatever happened to the Dolphins of offensive line since the 70s, when we used to dominate, or even since the days he had like Richmond Webb and Keith Sims and Dwight Stevenson. I would love some Dwight Stevenson and Richmond Webb on this team. So, but it's just is. We are one of the great mysteries along with DB Cooper. Whatever happened to DB Cooper and the Dolphins offensive line? I don't know. It's insane. Let's see what G-Man. Not only is the talent on left line suspect, except on him, but you also don't hear good things about the old. Yeah, I know. I didn't hear. I was kind of surprised at that move on the offensive line coach when you read about him, but I don't know. It could just be disgruntled players. It was a bad year for the Broncos. But yeah, some of the stuff we read about him after the fact that the Dolphins signed him, that was kind of made you scratch your head a little bit. But if you look at their numbers, the Broncos really weren't that bad along the line when he was there. It's weird. I agree. That was kind of a head scratcher or an off-season move. But hey, the Fangio was a home, that's what we do. We always hit like home run, and then maybe have a couple questionable moves. Like we hit a home run, getting the Ramsey trade, a talented quarterback, only 28-year-old still. And you didn't give up a ton of draft capital, and you gave up a tight end that probably wasn't even going to make the team this year anyway. So as far as that was a great move. So it just kind of reminds me about I just don't get it. I know I can ramble on forever. I just don't get it. I would never figure out why we can't get I love having Fangio from Americans from. Yes, Fangio was a good addition, Sean, for sure. He was a good addition. And yes, if the season falls apart, it will be because the offensive line gets too hurt and their depth gets exposed. Oh, I agree, D-Man. That's what I was saying. That's why I didn't talk much about Mike White, just because if we're down to playing Mike White, we're basically in trouble anyway. So, and I do believe there will be some competition for the backup. I do believe Skylar Thompson and Mike White will battle it out for the number 2 spot, with Tua set as the starter. And for this year, because, basically you've already guaranteed the young man next year $24 million, whatever the cap number is. This year he's under that, but you basically have him on the team for 2 years because you're going to pay him next year no matter what, now that you've guaranteed him that 5th year option, which I'm not against. It's good. Give him motivation, go out there and prove it. Then he even gets more money. If not, it buys you a little more time to start looking other directions. We won't be forced like the Giants to give a huge contract because you don't have anyone else. And like they did with Daniel Jones, they had to give him top dollar money because they didn't pick up the 5th year option to give him one more chance to prove he can have 2 good seasons in a row. So, I see both sides of it. I know. I agree, G-Man. Unless you're Richmond Webb and Keith Sims, they came in and, boom, they did. But those were the good old days. And yes, you can't count on rookie offensive linemen, so the draft does nothing for me at that position. I agree. Really, though, tight end's not going to do that much either. So running back, yes, you can come in and be a running back from day one in most of these situations. So, but we seem to have, like I like to use the term, we're running back at running back, but I do not believe that prevents us from doing other moves. It'd be interesting to see. The one area I don't think we would touch in the draft, but I didn't think they would last year, and they still drafted a receiver, but I don't think they would draft a receiver because we're pretty stacked in the receiver room. And our linebackers has improved, but we can still go linebacker in the draft because, we need more depth. Just because we got David Long doesn't mean we don't want to add to that section of the room too. And I know there's a lot of people that would say Fangio is going to want to choose nose tackle. So, you may be thinking along those lines. But the good thing is that the Dolphins have set them up for the most part to make you not know exactly where where we stand on the draft, because we have filled. There's an article on DolphinThirsty.com, which was written by Bobby Bobby Menendez. What's his nickname? Bobby Finstock. Bobby Finstock. He's of the Finstock Sports Network. He's written a couple articles for Dolphin Thirsty. They're good reads, and he talked about that very topic about Dolphins setting themselves up for not having to go BPA. I agree, Richard. We're definitely not out. Just because we have all those running backs on the roster right now, most of them signed 1-year type contracts that is easy to get out of. And we're definitely not out of the running back market if something happens. So that is 100%. Yes, Steve. Probably so. He'll be fired after the year. That's our ratio. That's for sure. That's the ratio. We fire our offensive linemen every single year. So we need to get out of that retro. It's not a good retro. There's no consistency from 1 year to the next. It's bad, man. You just, because there's talent. I mean, all these guys played major college football for the most part, heavily recruited, went to college, performed well enough to get attention of all the teams. It's not like the Dolphins picking some random guy that no one else had ever heard of. These are all on everyone's draft boards. But then they come to Miami, and it's just, I don't know, do they think they're in vacation land, or we just don't have the right coaching? It's just so frustrating, man. That it's, like I said, it's not just, I wish I could only blame Greer. It predates Greer. I just don't get it. It's insane in the membrane, as they would say. It drives me nuts that they can't figure out the offensive line after all these years. You just take luck, because sometimes the draft is lucky. Let's face it. And the Dolphins have not been lucky when it comes to the offensive line. I mean, sometimes look at the Dolphins got 2 undrafted free agents in the defensive backfield over the past few years, and Nick Needham and Cater Calhoun that came in and can contribute and help a football team win. But yet we can't draft that offensive lineman to say our life in the draft. And I love it when people say, oh, the Dolphins never spend resources on the offensive line. Yes, they do. They just don't know how to do it. They've used many high picks on the offensive line. They've traded up for offensive linemen. They've given offensive linemen big contracts. It's just they don't pan out. It's just one of those mysteries, I'm telling you. Next week on History Channel, D.B. Cooper and the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Where are they? And whatever happened to them? Because I sure as heck don't know. But anyway, it is all good. We are Dolphin fans. This is time of year to try to – we can be negative during the season after a loss, but this is the time of year I try to be optimistic as possible, because as Dolphin fans, it's sometimes the only time we have to be optimistic, because a regular season breaks our hearts year in and year out. So let's just hope. There's a lot. We're banking on a few things that I hope come true. We're banking on that the defense really steps up this year under the tutorage of Fangio, that we are hoping Chubb really steps up his game. Knowing the Fangio defense, we're hoping Marie Reed has her renaissance here in Miami after an off year in Pittsburgh, basically. We're hoping Jalen Phillips steps up his game, because we are going to need a real pass rush where we're not blitzing. A natural, organic pass rush is going to be vital in this defense. We can't have a quarterback sitting there back all day, because we're not going to blitz the house, which I'm so happy with. We're going to blitz. He's not opposed to blitzing, but he will blitz when needed. Fangio will, when he has it dictated on his terms, to be a surprise, not when the whole world knows that we're coming in for zero blitz and they beat it. It's just, it's crazy. So yes, we are banking on, but a lot of teams are. The Jets are banking on that Aaron Rodgers will come back and kick butt and be his former self that he was the year before last. So, a lot of teams are banking on stuff to happen, and we're among those in that rank. Let's see, G-Man, what did you say? You always bring some good stuff. Reggie McKenzie, who works closely with Garrett, played offensive line in the NFL. You would think he could. Yeah, you would think. I agree. You bring up a very good point. You think he would, and I'm sure Greer would listen to him, but I don't know. Who knows, man? I just don't know if it's coaching and we just haven't coached these guys up right, or we just evaluate the talent wrong, or we don't have the right, they're not good for the system that we use, or there's a variety of things and factors and variants that make it unknown. But the one known is that they haven't lived up, and they improved a little bit last year, which is I guess a step in the right direction, but then they still fired the offensive line coach. So, that improvement wasn't good enough, which I'm fine with. If McDaniel wants perfection, then that's even better. Maybe we move up again, but we will see, because I'm not getting excited about any offensive lineman coach until our numbers start changing on the offensive line, where we're one of the best offensive line. And again, though, Dolphins are banking on, like I say, there's a few things I'm worried about. We're banking on a healthy Tua, which he hasn't been able to stay. And I'm not a Tua basher at all, so don't start giving me hate. I'm a Tua fan because he's a Miami Dolphins quarterback, as simple as that. But the man has to stay healthy. Armstead, great, good, gutty guy, plays injured, but he also misses time due to injury. He's another guy we're banking on that's going to have to play more football for us this year. If you want to be serious contenders in this brutal AFC East, you're going to need that big stud out there on the left tackle, especially when the weather starts getting cold and the football starts getting rough and tough. So, you need that guy out there. You can't have him missing games in the critical part of the season. So there's a lot of things that, like I said, we're banking on David Long not missing time, and he's had injury history. So, all teams are banking on stuff, but we're banking on some injured guys to not get injured. That's the only thing that scares me with how this Dolphins team is setting up. We got a lot of good talent, but a lot of them have the history. And I know football's a tough sport, and anyone can get hurt any day on any team who's never missed a game in high school, college, and the pros. Never miss a game in like years, and then they can get hurt on one play and be done for the season. I realize that, but when you got some guys that are consistently going out, it just makes it very, very challenging to win when your stars are sitting on the bench, because all teams have players that get hurt. But when you got those normal players that get hurt all the time, then some of your other players start getting hurt just out of the blue, then you're really up the creek. Yes, that's the term I like, Steve. You remember, I'm a Dolphinaire. I'm not a two-inaire. I'm a Dolphinaire. Anyone that's on my team, you could basically say I'm a Nero, if I guess, if you really want to say. But I'm a go with the aqua and orange. I've been rooting for them, like I say, since the AJ Dewey days. And David Woodley, Don Strock era, was predated Marino just by a few years and whatever. Steve was lucky enough to be old enough to remember the Dolphins Super Bowl victories and all that, and know the feeling of your team winning the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that is great. Me, I remember those Super Bowl losses. I know I say that almost every day, but till we get a Super Bowl win, that's what I remember. I remember losing to the Redskins when we had David Woodley, and I remember losing to the 49ers when we had Dan Marino. The 49ers game, all week, I thought we were, all the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, I thought, we're going to be it because I was young. And yeah, I hear him, but 1984 was so much fun watching the Dolphins, and we were kicking most teams' butt. Ariel's show. So I thought, but once that game started playing out, you're like, we're in trouble. But the Redskins game, they gave me so many moments of like, we're going to win this game. Fulton Walker kickoff return. We're going to win this game. And then like Bo Kemper about to get the ball, and then Theismann knocks it out, and it's just like, boom. Then Don McNeil gets trucked by Riggins, and I like Don McNeil, so I was going to say he gets trucked by but anyone out there would have been trucked by that tank running. Any cornerback in the NFL would have been trucked by it. He just happened to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and got trucked by him, and he's glorified in poster forever of Riggins running Don McNeil. Don McNeil was a solid cornerback out of Alabama for the Miami Dolphins. Gave us a lot of great football. But that one moment is what everyone remembers the poor guy for, and it stinks because he was really a good football player. Just like me being a Red Sox fan, Bill Buckner had a great career, but everyone remembers him for the ball going under his legs. It sucks to be remembered for like some of those one moments in time when you've really been a good player overall. Yeah, I agree. Getting hurt is one thing, but we keep getting season-ending injuries, which will kill you. And I agree. I agree with you 100% there. and especially with our quarterback right now. And I'm worried about it because the NFL. He's the spectator. He is the guy, man. As far as like protocol in the NFL, it's all to set this all up. So he is just in the spotlight. If he has like a little concussion, not a little concussion, but he gets his head bang again and he has a concussion, they're gonna. I don't know if they're ever gonna let him come back. They're gonna say, nope, nope, he's not clear. Nope, he's not clear because he is the, like I say, he's in the spotlight. Example 101 of concussion protocol is Tua. So he is Exhibit A. So we're just a little bit worried about that for sure. We can't have him getting hurt. Wheel went up high on Wiggins' bad forms. Go low and make the tackle. Yep, I agree, especially on a tank running at you. You're not going to tackling him high. I agree. And that stinks, man. That was the end of that era of football, too, with those big, crazy, like he was like Zonka, the end of the Zonka type guys that are just big and can overpower you and run back, times like, there's been a few since then, of course, but that was like the game plan. And that was like they had the hogs up front and they would just smash you. And if any one of those plays, that I mentioned, well, the Fulton Walker play was a good play for us, and I personally knew Fulton Walker, so that's always a cool story. Back in the day, he's passed away. May he rest in peace. But he was a good guy. So anyway, so yeah, that Don McNeil and the Kim Bokamper play. I know it has to eat at Kim Bokamper, and I know Joe Rose will sometimes tease him about it, and he just laughs it off. But man, it has to suck because if he catches that ball, man, I can picture it to this day. Those are the two plays I picture in that game. Riggins running over McNeil and Bokamper, the Bokamper play. If he gets that ball, game over. I agree, G man. It's just that's it. I would have had my Super Bowl feeling. I would have known what it feels like for my Dolphins to win the Super Bowl. But now I'm still waiting and waiting. Yeah, Wiggins was fast, though. I agree. He was a complete guy. He was a big, fast dude, and behind that line that the Redskins had, that was crazy tough to stop. Crazy tough. But anyway, that's just that Super Bowl just drives me crazy. Like I said, the 49er game went south so quick. They had that one early touchdown to like Dan Johnson and whatever, but after that Super Bowl just went south quickly, and you kind of knew the handwriting was on the wall the whole game. They had figured out our aerial passing a game, and we were in trouble. It sucked. I never thought, though, never in a million years, I would have bet. Luckily, I was a kid and had no money to bet, but I would have bet everything I had on the Dolphins getting back to multiple Super Bowls with Dan Marino, and never happened again. Never made some AFC Championship games and then made the AFC Championship game the following year, but never sniffed a Super Bowl again. Never got to pay Dan Marino. Joe Montana back that Diet Pepsi. That was it. That was it. That was so. I really thought, though, even though they got destroyed in that Super Bowl, I said, okay, the young quarterback probably got a little nervous. They figured it out one, but we're going to make it. We're going to make adjustments and we're going to come back. And we did have good years. We just could never get back to the Super Bowl. It was bad. Oh no. But anyway, for this year's team, I do have hope, but I have hope every year, so I'm not going to go too far off. Steve and I are kind of level-headed. We may make big proclamations after one big move and get a little over carried away, but for the most part, we're level-headed, and we know there's a lot to be done. And as I mentioned probably 10 times on this show, yes, I agree, G-Man again. But on this show, we've mentioned several times, but it's just a long way to go for the off season. So Killer Bees got older. Yes, Marino never had the good defense. If Marino had been on those earlier 80 teams, if Marino was a few years older and was on those earlier teams when we still had all those guys on the defense playing prime, it would have been a kill. Like if Marino was a quarterback when we were playing like the Redskins, that game would have been we would have been Super Bowl champs. But would have, could have, should have. If we can't play it, but man, it just stinks. But Oh, well, Sean, you are one. We are due for another Super Bowl. So many teams are due for a Super Bowl, though, unfortunately. So if it was by the due factor, we still don't win ring. Like Detroit's never even won one off the top of my head. And I mean, the Jets have been longer than the Dolphins. So there's so many teams on the due list. Buffalo's never won a Super Bowl. So there's so many. They've been in some, but they've never won one. So it's like, it's crazy. So we can't go by the due factor because then we're not even the most due team, which is a crazy thing because you think this year would be our 50th year of our last Super Bowl win. Last year was the 50th anniversary of the perfect season. This one's going to be the 50th anniversary of our last Super Bowl victory. So it's really been way too long. Considering I'm 53, that means I was 3 years old when the Dolphins last won a Super Bowl. So that's insane, man. That's insane. But I still love the team like they're champions every year. So it's just how I roll. It makes it fun. I would never jump off the Dolphins no matter what. They've gone through controversies. They've gone through stupid things. They've gone through bullygate, cocaine sniffing coaches. You know, they've gone through everything. You know, they've gone through every single thing. They've gone through tampering charges now and all the other junk. And I still root for them because, you know, it's just how I roll. So, you know, there's nothing else you can do. Yeah, but Sean, like I said, I really wish we were due a Super Bowl, but like I said, there's a lot of teams are due you know, a win. So, nice looking at one of Steve's old tweets here or messages. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys, for me because I'm the worst promoter in all of YouTube. I will always forget to tell people to watch my channel. So please watch my channel. Hit that like and subscribe button because it's all things Dolphins. As you can see, I don't have any script or anything. I speak Dolphins from the heart because it's what I love and it's how I roll. I love my Dolphins. My son's back at college, so I've overtook his room again. He goes to the University of Florida. So I, you know, have invaded his space again. Eventually, I'm going to try to make it look like, but I can't steal his room totally because he'll be back and forth from college, of course. But eventually, I hope I set this up a little bit more. This is fun. I tell Steve all the time, it's like therapy, me talking about the Dolphins because I've been through a lot the past couple of years. So this is fun talking to you guys. And it's just, you know, it's been amazing to help me get better. Let's see. Any comments I'm missing before I close out my show? Yes, Steve, I am a little bit on a roll because overall I'm happy with where the team is. But I know it's going to be tough, and there's still other positions we can hit. And, you know, we will see. The draft is still going to be fun. And we know we don't have a first-round pick due to tampering and the Chubb trade. You know, we were set up with looking like we were going to have 2 picks going into this year. But between the tampering penalty and the Chubb trade, we have 0 first-round picks for 2 years in a row now, which is tough, though, because that's where you build your best depth when you're a team that's building a really solid team. Then you supplement it with cheaper talent and get those guys under contract for maybe 5 years if you draft one in the first round. So it's really hard to build the way the Dolphins are building. It's not sustainable for a long time, but we are set up to win. There's no excuses. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets. I don't care if the Patriots pull off a miracle and go get Lamar Jackson like you hear some people. I haven't seen any credible people saying that, and I don't think it would ever happen. But just, you know, if Bill Belichick decides he wants to shock the world and go get Lamar Jackson, I don't care. There's no excuses. We are built to win now, and that's what we have to do. We can't worry about what they do and, you know, make that as an excuse. Well, we got a good team. You think New England ever cared? New England benefited, though, because the Dolphins sucked, the Jets sucked, and Buffalo sucked during all their years. So it was almost like guaranteed. Yeah, we would beat them maybe in a head-to-head matchup in the regular season, but it was a guaranteed AFC East title every year for New England. While other teams had a battle before they got to the playoffs for the division, New England basically had the division wrapped up by midway. They already knew they were going to be the division champs. So, you know, we're not going to have that luxury. We're not going to have that. We're not going to be a division champ no matter what. You got Buffalo, who's still, yes, they've regressed maybe a step, but they're still a damn good football team. The Jets have improved. New England, like I say, I know we pick on Belichick, but he does kind of remind me of Don Shula. I mean, no, I don't know the ethics of maybe of the Don Shula, because he sure as hell would use a playbook if he was given a playbook. He would definitely use it, but he still is a good coach and he knows how to win. So they're never going to totally suck. You're not going to see New England be like a 4-13, whatever it adds up to 17. I always want to say teams that add up to 16 still using that six. And yes, the vintage logo, I agree with G Man. I would love. Oh, I agree, G Man. It would be a huge problem. But my point is that we can't make an excuse of it because we're built to win. We're built to win. And, we've made our bed. Now let's go kick ass in it. We can't just go, you know, falling out of it. We got to be roll up our sleeves, go to fight, and kick all these teams. But I don't care. There's no excuse at this point. We've done it all. And as much as we don't like Ross for taking away our logo, making us have this logo instead of this logo, and all the stupid things that got us charged with tampering, at least the man tries. He's built the best facilities there are in the NFL. He signs anyone that Chris Greer says, "Oh, I know we just gave this guy $50 million guaranteed, but can we give him a little bit more?" And Ross is like, "Where do I sign the check?" So there's a lot of good things he does. So, he does bad and he does good. I know some people would say he does more bad than he does good, or than he does well or whatever. But I still think he has a good heart. He just sometimes doesn't carry out like we would have to do it. So, it is what it is. But let's face it, this logo would look a lot better if the Dolphins went and won a Super Bowl with it. I think we could agree on that. Then all of a sudden, this logo would look a little nicer. We just haven't done a lot of winning. Top of the morning. No problem, Vito. We're almost out of here, too. I just got on a roll. I'm all by myself now as far as how the schedule rolls, but it's always great, Vito. And Vito's always a great follow on Twitter for you guys that don't follow him. Really good guy. Will give you a good morning every morning like Twitter should be. None of the nasty stuff that Twitter normally is. He's a good follow, and that's what makes him really cool. I know. Oh, of course, Sean, this is Tua. That's what we were saying about Tua this past season. Oh, this is his make or break year. But again, I believe this really will be his make or break year because even if you have to pay him the fifth-year option the following year in today's market, an average quarterback, that's about what you're going to get anyway. So it's a good deal. We got him for 2 more years, and let's see how we roll. It's been fun, guys. Vito, don't worry. I'm happy you're here. Just make sure you hit that like and subscribe. I forget to tell people all the time to do that. Hit that like. I know you probably subscribe, but hit the like for today's show. All you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't name you all. So many good comments to help me roll by myself without my old partner on here. So fins up to you all. Check with DolphinsThirsty.com as often as possible. I will have trivia up there. I will have any breaking Dolphin news stories. Slow past couple of days. Thank you, Sean. Fins up to you. Fins up to you all. I will be closing out now. So, like I said, I won't name you all by name, but you know who you are. You all rock, and you all are great. And make sure you check out Steve's show tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. on the Fins Talk Sports Network. Thank you, guys, and fins up.